In this video, we're going to look at 3 scales you can use in open E tuning to play on a blues in the key of E. We're going to look at the minor pentatonic, the major pentatonic, and the Mixolydian mode. Putting scales in open E tuning is a little bit different from standard tuning. I tend to work along the strings horizontally and use the fact that some of the strings are duplicated to help map out the rest of it. So let's check it out. Let's start with E minor pentatonic. So I'm just going to play on the first string. So I've got open E, 3rd fret, 5th fret, 7th fret, 10th fret, 12th fret. So that's exactly the same as in standard tuning. It's the same notes on the first string. And the beauty of this is that that's the same notes on the 4th string and on the 6th string. So you've got 3 strings that are exactly the same going up and down. Now, to make this a bit more usable and to just go through some ideas using this, I'm going to add the 2nd string as well. So this will be exactly the same as in standard tuning. So open B, D on the 3rd fret, the E on the 5th fret, then we go up to the 8th fret, the G, then the A on the 10th fret, and then back to B on the 12th. So what I would suggest you do then is take that pair of strings, and I don't have a loop pedal with me, or a backing track even, so I'm going to use the open 6th string as a pedal, and I'm just going to play ideas based off that using E minor pentatonic on the top 2 strings. And again, I can't emphasize this enough, in open E tuning, it's the same as in standard tuning on those top 2 strings. One of the things to remember here is that open E is the same as the 5th fret on string 2. So you can do if you want to add in the flat 5, the blues scale note, it's on the 11th fret of string 2, so it's also here on the 6th fret of string 1. So you can add that one note in. So on the first string, you're now going to have the 3rd fret, 5th fret, the 6th fret, and the 7th fret. So you've got all of that available to you. If you're used to playing conventional guitar and standard tuning, it can be a bit weird just playing on 2 strings, but at least your fretboard knowledge is the same. Everything that you've done to learn your scales in conventional playing, in standard tuning, applies on those top 2 strings. Now, this is where it gets fun. Those top 2 strings, B and E, are repeated on strings 5 and 4. So those exact same patterns apply there as well. So I can play on the 5th string, and I can play on the 4th string. That's going to be the same as on the top 2 strings. Same up here when we go. It's the same. It's just an octave lower each time. Same there. blues scale note is on the 5th string now. Or on the 4th string. So it's 5, 6, 7. And the other thing to remember is that all the open strings are available to you all the time. We're playing in the key of E major. The chord that the guitar is tuned to is an E major chord, so all of those open strings, so we can bounce off. You know, wherever you want to do that, you can add in those open strings, and that can also be really helpful just to give you time to get back to a fretted note. So we've got the top 2 pairs of strings, and strings 5 and 4 are exactly the same as standard tuning. This is going to apply with all the scales that we do, so I'll try not to repeat this continuously, but it's super important. Now, the 6th string is our E string again, so that's the same as the 1st string or the 4th string. The 3rd string is where we have to kind of think a little bit, because it's 1 fret out from normal. It's tuned to a G sharp rather than a G, and that can be a bit confusing. So the way that I think about this is I think about minor triads. So I'll take the slide off for a sec. There's my E minor triad. Here's my other, the next one, the other E minor triad up here, and then the other one up here. So these are all labeled in the resources that you can get with this video. Just go to onefingerguitarist.com and look at free resources, and you can download fret diagrams for all this stuff. But here's E minor triad. So on strings, I'm just focused on strings 2, 3, and 4 here. So from string 4, I'm on the 3rd fret, 3rd fret on the 3rd string, 5th fret on the 2nd string. So what we want to add in is this note here. So we're going to add that into our scale. So that's going to be on the 3rd string. Same here. The note on the 3rd string will be part of the scale now. And the frets here from string 4 are 7, 6, 6. And then when I get up to the 12th fret, there's my note on the 3rd string again. And the notes here are 12th fret, 11th fret, 12th fret. So what we've ended up with is this note here, the 3rd fret. We've ended up with this note here, the 8th fret and the 11th fret. So we're going to add in the remaining notes of the scale, but that's a really good way of just seeing where things are. We're going to add in this A note on the 1st fret, and the 3rd fret for the minor triad. We're going to use the 6th fret, the 8th fret, and the 11th fret. So now what you want to do is just add that 3rd string into the phrases that you're playing. Again, I tend to think horizontally, so I'm not really thinking across the neck vertically for all this stuff. I'm tending to think melodic ideas that go up and down the strings and then connect, and most of this is just from doing it lots, to be honest, just especially if you're used to playing in standard tuning and things are now different. You're kind of just trying to figure out where the sounds that you have in your head now lie on the guitar, and really that's just a case of doing lots of playing. And in this case, I'm just going to do it over an E bass note. Super easy, don't need any other extra equipment. So I'm just going to kind of play around with the scale a little bit. So. to be the same as the minor pentatonic in the sense that the top two strings are going to be the same as in standard tuning. If you're not familiar with major pentatonic, it's the same as the relative minor pentatonic. So an easy way of thinking of that might be to say that C major pentatonic is the same as A minor pentatonic. Basically go down 3 frets and play the minor pentatonic. So in this key, in E major pentatonic, it's going to be the same notes as C sharp minor pentatonic. It has a quite different sound. It's a major scale rather than a minor type scale. But if you want to find the notes, that's one way of doing it. I'm just going to show you these string by string as before. So we're going to start on the open E, the first string, and then play the 2nd fret, and then the 4th fret, and the 7th, and then the 9th, and then the 12th. This is just the 1, the 2, 3, 5, 6, and the 1 again. If you're not used to this sound, a good example is My Girl by the Temptations. It's not in this key, it's in C, but it's that kind of sound. So that's how it lays out on the first string. On the 2nd string, we're going to play the open string again, and then the 2nd fret, and the 5th fret, and then the 7th, then the 9th, and then the 12th. Again, I kind of like to have a pair of strings under my fingers. I'm thinking horizontally along the strings, but just having a pair of strings just gives you a little bit more ability to create, melodic phrases. It's hard playing on one string and creating melodies. It's brilliant, and with the slide it's fantastic because you can really move around and explore those areas in between the notes. But you'll find that having 2 strings at least under your fingers just speeds things up and gives you access to other sounds a little bit quicker, I suppose. So the beauty of this is once you've learnt that on strings 1 and 2, it's going to be the same on strings 5 and 4. So same notes. So on string 4, which is the same as string 1, and string 5, it's the same as string 2. And then string 6 is the same as string 1. When you get to the 3rd string, this is where things start getting a little bit trickier just because it's 1 fret out, and I always find that the most confusing part, where it's just 1 fret away from what you're used to, and the top 2 strings are the same as what you're used to. So the trick here is to view this in terms of triads. So major triads on strings 2, 3, and 4. So first one, second one, I'm starting with just that E, open E major triad. But this is how I visualize this. So now what I do is I take that 3rd string and I think about the triads. So I've got open string, 3rd fret, 5th fret, 8th fret, 10th, and 12th. So now I've got the whole guitar mapped out, but again I'm going to think along the strings. So I'm just going to play some ideas on the top 2 strings. And now I'll just extend that across all 6 strings. So. I mixed up a couple of other things in there as well, a little bit of minor pentatonic stuff, but basically if you've got the major and minor pentatonic stuff together, you've got a lot of scope, particularly if you're playing it over a blues or something like that. So this video is really just about scale shapes and just about positions on the guitar, but there's going to be another video where I kind of explain how you can use these things over blues. I just wanted to keep them separate so it was kind of clear what each video was about. So that was the major pentatonic. We'll do one more scale, and then that should give you plenty of material to work from when you're playing over blues type material. So this last scale that we're going to look at is the Mixolydian mode. I don't want to get involved in the big discussion about modes in this particular video, though I'm more than happy to in future videos. But I think the best way of thinking about this scale is simply that it's a dominant 7th scale. So forget the whole modal thing and that it comes from the major scale, anything like that. It's essentially a major scale with a flat 7 or a minor 7th, and it fits over a dominant 7th chord. So it doesn't matter what major scale it comes from or anything like that. It's the sound of that particular scale and the fact that it differs from the major scale. It has one note that's different and your ears may be expecting to hear that note. So if I play it on the 1st string, for instance, that second to last note, you might have been expecting this. So that was the major scale. But what we're playing, instead of playing this, and that's what makes it fit over an E7th chord. It's that note. So this is a 7-note scale. I think the best way of thinking about it is it's like the major pentatonic. It contains all those notes, but it has 2 extra notes. And these extra notes are here, the 5th fret. So the major pentatonic was this one. It's adding that note. And then here, we're going to add in the flat 7. So the major pentatonic had, and this one goes. And what's really important about this is it's a semitone away from one of the major pentatonic notes. There's a semitone there, from the 10th to the 9th fret, and a semitone from the 5th to the 4th fret. And those areas where there are semitones are well worth getting into, because the minor pentatonic or major pentatonic, there are no semitones in there. There are only tones or minor thirds. So the difference with something like Mixolydian is it adds in semitones, and you can create a lot of music with semitones. So just to review again, that 1st string, that's your Mixolydian. Now that scale is going to fit over E7. If you're playing over an A7 chord, you'd play A Mixolydian. If you were playing over a B7th chord, you play B Mixolydian. So those 3 chords in the blues, you'd need a different Mixolydian mode for each one. That's something I'll get into later on in a later video. But just for now, just be aware of that. There's nothing stopping you using Mixolydian on the E chord and then reverting to minor pentatonic or pentatonic things on the other chords, that can sound great as well. So in case you're worried about suddenly having to learn 3 new scales, yeah, it's not essential, but ultimately, you know, that's what you're going to get into. So we're going to take this onto the 2nd string. Again, as with the other scales, the top 2 strings, strings 1 and 2, are the same in standard tuning as they are in open E. So on the 2nd string, we've got open, 2nd, 3rd, 5th, 7th, 9th, 10th, 12th. So I'm just going to play around with those top 2 strings. And then, as before, strings 5 and 4 are the same, so string 5 is like string 2. String 4 is the same as string 1. String 6 is the same as string 1. Third string is, again, where things get funny because it's G sharp, not G now. So the 3rd string, again, I'd relate this to the major pentatonic scale, and if you remember the 3rd string, we took those triads. So we took the E major triad, and now what we're going to do is add in some semitones. So it's going to go like this. It's going to start on the open string, on the 1st fret, 3rd, 5th, 6th, 8th, 10th, 12th. So if I play over the whole neck, the process here is to learn these scales like the back of your hand. For me, this works way better horizontally. So you work on each string and you play music with it. You play over a backing track, you play over a loop. You do what I'm doing, which is just with a pedal, just because a pedal in the sense of a continuous open string rather than an effects pedal. But you know, I'm on holiday, I don't have any of these things with me, so I'm quite happy just playing along with that open E string. And you just create music with it. And one thing that we'll explore in another video is just the idea of vocabulary, having ideas to play. But I think there's a lot of value in just getting used to the scales under your fingers by improvising with them, because playing up and down the scale, you know, whether you're going vertically or horizontally, just playing through the scale is not music, it's just playing the notes in alphabetical order. and you will learn the scale much better if you start jumping around in between it. So if I'm playing this scale, you know, I'm gonna have access to the notes and the melodies that I'm hearing in my head much better if I've got used to jumping around within the scale, and I'm going to see where those notes are a lot more clearly as well, rather than always relying on doing it in one direction, you know, either up or down. So beware of playing scales just up and down. I think that has limited value. I think you really need to get deep in there and get stuck in and, you know, get lost and then find your way out. And that's where the fun is as well. So I would take one of these scales at a time, focus on that scale for, you know, a number of weeks, a number of months, however long it takes you to feel comfortable with where you are, and use the tricks that I've suggested here. The fact that the top two strings are the same as standard tuning, the fact that strings 5 and 4 are the same as those top two strings, the fact that the 6th string is the same as the 1st string, and then you just got to worry about the 3rd string. So have fun with those. There's a lot of material here. Don't feel you need to do it all at once, but this will really get you kind of started on finding out where these sounds are in this tuning, and, you know, gives you a great start to improvising over anything in this wonderful tuning.